Well, for more on the AG's report, we joined on the line by our reporter, Mbongeni Muthwa. Mbongeni, thank you so much for your time. Now, what does the Auditor-General's report tell us about the overall state of the management of public funds in the country currently?
Yes, I think this report, like the ones in previous years, still paints a not so pleasing picture overall about the state of financial management or how public funds are being managed across government, that is national government, provincial government, and most of the SOEs. As you've heard from the clip that you've played, the Auditor-General highlighting some of the concerning areas, and just looking or glancing overall at the picture that is being painted, it's not a good one. Particularly the area of irregular expenditure, which is what refers to money that is spent without following the prescribed regulations. So that has gone up from 109 billion to 166 billion. It is quite a big amount. It's a big jump, a big leap. And we understand that earlier when the Auditor-General was tabling the report before the Standing Committee on Public Accounts, the Finance Watchdog, SCOPA, she highlighted this as a big concern of hers and called on parliamentarians to step up to the plate and play their role in holding government officials to account, and even mentioned that she has referred quite a number of cases to law enforcement agencies like the NPA, the Hawks, and the Asset Forfeiture Unit, so which suggests that there could be more than meets the eye, that maybe she feels that, or she's convinced that many of the cases that are involved here actually involve corruption of some sort.
And that, Mbongeni, was going to be my next question, just talking about the fact that we all know, how corruption is plaguing government at the moment, and, as it relates to the looting of public funds as well, according to the latest report of the AG. I mean, did you get an impression that she's perhaps saying that this is getting worse and not necessarily better, notwithstanding the fact, that she said that earlier that, that the overall outcome does reflect an incremental improvement in the report?
Absolutely. For instance, in her address now, she specifically flagged specific departments, primarily the Department of Health. We know what has transpired there, the scandals there recently, digital vibes and those kind of things. She flagged these departments as of particularly worrying concern, saying that there is poor financial management in some of the departments, like the Department of Health, Public Works, and then she mentions that there are departments and entities which continue to fail to submit their financial statements to the Auditor-General, which is the most basic thing. I mean, everyone knows that departments must submit their books to the Auditor-General to be audited, but there are departments and entities that still just don't do it. They don't submit at all. Others, when they submit after the deadline. So that's not really a good. It doesn't paint a good picture. You've got 13 entities that received disclaimers, which is, like she said, that's the worst opinion that the Auditor-General can give, which means that there are big amounts involved that there is no supporting documents to show that this money, these big amounts, were spent on this for this reason and the rules were followed. It's not a good picture. If you look at fruitless and wasteful expenditure, over 220 entities, many of them SOEs, amounting to overall 1.7 billion rands of fruitless and wasteful expenditure. So, and that there are departments, like 7 departments, that she said, had unpaid claims exceeding their budgets. So you've got a department that is sitting with claims that exceed its total budget. Of course, she wouldn't say this. I think she wouldn't use words like shambolic, unacceptable, shocking, which is, personally, when I look at all of this, those are words that spring into my mind.
Now, bringing it closer to home, Mbongeni, I mean, she did express concern as it relates to state-owned entities, saying, they've regressed, saying that the SABC and Transnet received qualified audits, while Armscor and Airports Company South Africa received unqualified audits. Now, I know that there's only one state-owned enterprise that got a clean audit, but as you said, this is quite shocking.
I think it just sums up. It sums up the overall picture when it comes to SOEs at the moment. We all know. I think everyone is quite aware now in the country about the shambles, really, that most of the SOEs have fallen into over the years. You can talk about your SAA, DNL, ESCOM as well, So we are quite familiar. I mean, those are big SOEs. Of course, SOEs, there's hundreds of them across national, provincial, and local government. And then to come to a situation where now, in 2021, there is only one SOE, state-owned enterprise, that has achieved a clean audit, which is the Development Bank of Southern Africa. I think it just sums up the whole picture, really, about the really unfortunate stage that most of the SOEs have deteriorated into. So, of course, it's a challenge, I guess, for the leaders of the country to really take a good look at this and figure the way out of this, or the way forward. Of course, it also plays into the debate around privatization, because there are people in government as well and in the business sector who've been arguing that the only way now for most of the SOEs is to really just give them up to the private sector, because they are beyond, the situation is beyond, it can't be salvaged. Government can't resuscitate them. It can't bring them into life, bring them into proper financial health, and so on and so on and so on. So it's going to be an interesting situation to watch going forward as to what happens.
Interesting, and also obviously affecting us. Thank you so much, Mbongeni, for that, that analysis and that brief. Of course, Mbongeni Muthwa just taking us through, some of the outcomes from the Auditor-General's report. She tabled in Parliament the 2020-2021 Public Finance Management Act Audit Outcomes General Report. And of course, of great concern, she says that the year's annual irregular expenditure amounts to 166 billion rands. Of course, that's an increase from 109 billion rands the previous year.